What's up, you guys? So today is actually one of like the greatest days ever right now. It's like the best day of the entire summer. Like, forget everything else, like the best day right here, right now. Reason why is because about 3.5 months ago, it's August 15th. On May 1st, I took my boat over to my mechanic. He did some work on it, couldn't figure it out, took forever. I switched over to him, another mechanic. He was really expensive, he had it for a couple weeks, didn't work out, so I took it over to a third mechanic, and this guy I've actually really liked. I've used for a lot of other things, so I trusted him. And it's finally done. Like, it's 3.5 months and the boat is done. All summer is like gone, like, it's so upsetting, but the boat is done. It's done, it's fixed, it's amazing. I'm going to pick it up right now. I am so excited. I have not been in the water, like on a wakeboard since last October, I think. I think it was October. It's like, oh, I'm so excited to go get it. So we're going to go do that right now. We're gonna grab the boat. We're gonna drop it in, make sure everything's running good and smooth and all that kind of stuff. And then the wakeboarding videos can finally begin. We can finally get those on the account. So let's go grab the boat. So awesome, I'm so excited. Okay, I just wanted to go over real quick what we got done. That way it kind of justifies the fact of spending $3 grand. It was actually about 2,800, but I'm just gonna round. So this is a 2005 Larson SEI 180. It is the Volvo Penta 3-liter though. It either comes with a Volvo Penta or the Mercruiser engine. We went with the Volvo style, and just because it's a little bit bigger of an outdrive. Instead of the Alpha 1 drive, it uses the SX drive for Volvo. Volvo. So what we got done, it was running really bad, and we finally decided to do some maintenance on it. The entire carburetor has been completely sent in and rebuilt. We sent that about in May. This was actually done pretty quickly. This was about 2 weeks. Completely new carb that we got. They sent us a new one. We sent ours in. This is still from the original, but we just cleaned this up. All of the heads have been redone on the distributor cap. This was completely gone. These wires for the spark plugs were completely just, I mean, you could just kind of wiggle them out. There was no actual compression to them whatsoever. They were just falling to pieces. The cap was completely gone. The metal that strikes, there was nothing to strike. There was no metal left at all. This cap was dead. I can't even believe it fired. Let's see, the starter we had redone. The spindle was caught in the engine. The gimbal bearing over between the outdrive and the engine itself was redone. That one was extremely expensive because the gimbal itself is a pretty hefty part. I think the part was like $550. And then of course you have to pull the engine and the outdrive off to get to it. You have to pull the outdrive off, but we had this pulled out anyway. Compression wise, we're good. We're sitting at lowest 132 compression in, I think, cylinder number 3, and then our highest compression is about 141. So it's a good range. They're pretty close together. I mean, obviously perfect would be like every compression would be the exact same, like 140, 140, 140, 140. But you know, we're over 100, so on everyone, actually we're well over 100, so it's great compression. So the engine is actually still sealed really well. The engine block is good. But let's see, we had the carb redone. We had, oh yeah, okay, so there's a coupler back here, and that coupler, which you can kind of see right there, it's the red part right there. That guy is mounted to the flywheel, or the pressure plate, whatever you want to call it, and as it mounts on there, there's the drive shaft that goes in between it. Well, we had heard some really bad vibrations for quite a while, and I was thinking that the entire transom of the boat, the entire back, was cracked. I thought something along the assembly was damaged because the gimbal had gone so bad. So I was scared, because that is about 15 to 17 hours labor to redo the transom, and then the new transom itself could be anywhere to $3,500 to $4,000. So we were about to have to just sell the boat. But it turns out when we pulled the engine out, the transom's fine. Thank God. I mean, really, thank you. So what happened was the coupler back here has about 8 or 7 bolts that attaches it to the flywheel. Every single bolt, every one, had completely unscrewed itself, and one of them was holding it in, and it was only about a half or 3/4 of the way screwed in. So that entire coupler is just shaking around like crazy. I cannot believe we did not damage anything. But the mechanic looked at our drive shaft. He looked at the gearing and the outboard, the outdrive, just to make sure everything was still fine. We got it. We caught it in time before it actually had completely become unbolted, and then that would have just been a nightmare. So that was expensive. Let's see, what else did we do? The oil pan was dropped and cleaned out. We installed a new bilge pump down there. Can't really see it down there. There it is. And that is an automatic one with a sensor instead of an actual float, because the floats never really work. They always tend to go out. We got a new gauge up here because our last one had gone out, so I know it doesn't match, but at least it actually works. It's at 10 right now, but once you actually start the boat, it'll drop and then go back up to whatever it is. Let's see, I had the depth finder installed, and we had, oh yeah, this guy, the trim assembly had completely gone out. None of the trim was working. The motor was stuck in the up position, so we had to have all this entire assembly redone. We just kind of ran straight wires instead of using the bracket. There's normally a mounting bracket that has all the assembly in there. Well, we just ran it with wires because it was cheaper that way. It was actually about $200 cheaper. So we just decided to do that. And let's see, as I look at the engine, what else did we do? I know we did some more stuff. Oh yeah, all new spark plugs. I mean, that's obvious though. You're gonna do that. Oil change while we were at it, and oh yeah, so the engine itself was actually sinking on one side. You see how it's mounted here, and it's mounted here. And if you own a boat, you know that most boats are fiberglass, and a lot of boats are wood and fiberglass, and that's a lot of pressure from this engine as the boat's bouncing and doing all that stuff. Over the years, this is 2005, over the years, this thing, let's see, it's 10, 11 years old now, this thing kind of shifts, and so it's put a lot of strain right here on the actual part of the boat, the fiberglass. And so what we did was we reinforced it with these steel plates right here, because this was actually sinking. This side was lower than this side. The wood underneath it was starting to get damaged and kind of rotted, started to crack. So we put these giant steel plates right here that mounted in. I would suggest doing that if you're having the same problem. So if you have stern drive, or even probably an inboard, I would think, you might have that problem at some point. Outboards are completely different, because outboards, the whole thing's outside. Let's see. Yep, I want to say that's everything. Might have been a few more, but it was a lot of labor, and it ended up taking 3.5 months. I went through 3 different mechanics to get all this done. My first guy took forever, so I moved to someone else. The second guy just didn't really know what he was doing, so I pulled it from him in about a week. And then the third guy was actually the one I used for most things. I really like this guy. I just didn't take it to him at the beginning of the summer because he was booked up, so I took it to him later in the summer, and he was still busy, but he was able to get it done. So it took a while, but it should run perfectly now. We're hoping. I'm about to take it on a water test. My camera's almost dead, so that's great. I gotta go charge it. So as you can see, this is the SX Volvo outdrive. It's a lot bigger, so it's going to give you more torque than the Alpha 1 drive. However, the Alpha 1 drive is geared for higher speeds. It's a little bit smaller gearing. This one's larger gearing, so this one will give me more torque as compared to the Alpha 1, which will give me more speed. But since all I'm doing is wakeboarding, only wakeboarding, I want the Volvo with more torque. The engine itself is, like I said, the 3-liter, it's 192 horsepower off of the flywheel, and of course that'll reduce a little bit by the time that it gets to the blade, but not as much as a car. It's not as much resistance. Bye.